15 years back, dark dungeons started popping up everywhere on the planet. Along with them came the Awakened, people who overnight gained extraordinary abilities. Yuya Shiosaki is part of this group, but unlike the others, he awakened without any talent. It's like being the only one in the group who doesn't know how to use the microwave after a battle where he was the last one standing. The boy was mysteriously sent 10 years into the past, but now if he were smart he would have gone back just to buy stocks in Netflix and Apple with a special ability that gives him information about all the dungeons and all the enemies like Google Maps in a Dark Souls version. He was driven by a fierce need to save his sister and stop the terrible disaster from ever happening again. He has to push past his limits to become the most powerful awakened of them all. The trouble is there are plenty of creatures desperate to stop that from ever happening. It all starts in Tokyo, back in the year 20. In the middle of the mess, a hurt boy sighs that he's dying, feeling like he lost the fight just like he lost his Wi-Fi. As he steps over a body on the ground, a big dragon with red eyes stares right at him. As the hero lies awake in the dark, wrestling with the ghosts of his failures, he feels exactly like a medieval version of someone staring at a mountain of unpaid bills at 3 a.m. 15 years ago, terrifying dungeons suddenly popped up everywhere, and people known as Awakened Ones appeared, gaining amazing powers to fight back against them. 10 years ago, our boy stepped in to join this crew of heroes. But with no talent to show, he spent his days getting called useless by everyone around him. That's the kind of nickname that speaks for itself without needing a badge. But with his sister's medical bills piling up, he had no choice but to keep his job. He kept studying the dungeons until he knew just enough to move through them with ease. The problem was that even with this, he still couldn't stand on equal footing with those who possessed real powers. And now he is about to step away from this life and move on to a better one. Hidden away, a little girl watches the news of the terrible event that wiped out most of humanity just because the reports had nothing lighter to show. Looking around at all the bodies, the protagonist finally realizes he's the only one left alive. But right when he thinks about quitting, he remembers his sister's wish for him to keep everyone safe, even though she is gone now. Just before the boy's heart stops, and he bursts into tears while standing in front of a dragon, always embarrassing. Amidst the fighting, our boy holds his weapon tight and vows to land one final strike. The great dragon, desperate to stop him, breathes a massive stream of fire toward the young man, who, just before being burned up, throws his dagger. Suddenly, he tumbles into a bright white void and can't tell if he's finally passed away or if someone just forgot to pay the electric bill. A message pops up confirming our guess and warning that the retreat is starting. The hero has no clue what that means, but honestly, nobody ever figures it out when a strange pop-up shows up in the middle of life. That with nowhere left to go, he keeps falling until he vanishes from sight. Someone's voice snaps him awake, and his eyes fly open. We find that the young man is stuck in a Class E dungeon in the year 2024. Right in front of him, a girl asked what had made him suddenly lose his focus. They go on to say they belong to the same guild. She introduces herself as Arisa Managa, and admits she has no special powers, which is a perfect way to start a friendship. Thinking, Shirasaki remarks that the name sounds familiar. He stared at his body and saw that his wounds were gone, even though he had no power to heal them. To make things even worse, he's stuck at level 9 with stats just like when he first awakened. So desperate, he asks the girl what year it is, only for her to ask why he's acting so strange. Suddenly, he snaps back 10 years in the past and can't believe it. But who is the voice that announced the last eligible candidate has passed away? Watching everything around him shift, our boy realizes his list of skills is acting all weird. He was so deep in his own world that he didn't hear a creature coming until Arisa screamed and told him to spin around. Yuya quickly grabs his dagger, only to realize he is facing a whole pack of small E-class wolves. Knowing he's too weak to beat them until he reaches level 12, he realizes he has no chance of winning. Even with doubts, he still chooses to test his idea, knowing it's the perfect moment for some risky experiments. While the young redhead screams that it's dangerous and they must run, the protagonist ignores her warning and charges forward anyway. With one powerful swing, he cuts the wolf right in two. It's honestly impossible to believe something like this would happen in the tutorial. Maga stands frozen in pure shock, just like a player watching someone crush a game without ever having practiced. Realizing he had leveled up, our hero confirms he was right and steps up to face the other monsters. With a grin, he says the enemies finally figured out where they dug themselves a hole. While the rest of the pack charges forward, they crash to the ground as the guy leaps back, a moment that screams for an epic musical score. The protagonist realizes that whenever they stand together, one creature always hides in a blind spot to strike. So all that's left is for him to find out where it is. Shirawaki delivers another hard blow, wiping out the wolf that was ready to attack him from behind. Even though the girl still can't believe it and thinks his skills haven't vanished, our boy insists he's ready to take on even tougher enemies. Even though you start lower now, leveling up will feel much faster than it did before. It looks like just one wolf is left standing, but the proa rushes in and sends it to a better place before we can watch much longer. A message pops up to tell you that your physical strength training has finally reached perfect mastery. Our boy vows that this time he will rise above the awakened. Then Yuya lies, claiming he only studied smaller wolves by chance and that his success was just luck. Chuckling at how the girl fell for the tale, he reveals that magical weapons with special powers can be found in dungeons and used by those who wield them. So as the awakened grow stronger, their skills become permanent, offering a lifeline to those who started without any talent. Suddenly, Kamachi Dichi, the leader of the group, pops up out of nowhere and shouts, asking what the two of you are standing there doing. Arisa beams with pride, claiming the proa took down a whole pack of wolves, all on its own, but the leader scoffs at the young man and insists the wolves must have been badly weakened. No matter what happens, they have to race to that magical crystal he found, because something valuable is waiting inside it. When asked about the wolves' magical stones, the man tells our boy to take the job and finish it. He just nods and bends over to begin, showing he's long used to being treated like this because he has no talent. Suddenly, Shiosaki recalls that this mission is meant to help Kamachi gain leadership, but something terrible went wrong the last time. He sprints forward and reaches the pair, yelling for them not to touch the glowing crystal. Frustrated, the group leader snaps at the young man, asking if he's jealous and insisting the item is his. Our boy shouts out that this is a trap. Trusting his word, Miena tells Dai to be careful, but he quickly pulls his hand away, tells her to shut up, and insists they follow his orders before touching the crystal. Suddenly, a blinding light floods the room, and the man shouts that it was never a trap. But he changes his mind when he meets Grey Fang, a rare rank D creature. The monster lunges to crush the pair with a paw, but crashes into the ground instead, sending the two young people tumbling off their feet. Fear shaking his legs, the red-haired man tells the creature to hold back while he uses his special skill to find its weak spot. He attacks instantly, but his knife bounces off the Grey Fang's tough hide and clatters onto the floor. As he runs away, the guy tells the two of them to deal with the beast, insisting he won't die here, but the boy is left alone and quickly realizes the monster is far too strong for him to handle. Last time he was too busy trying to survive to save Arisa, but now he pulls out his dagger and swears he won't let that happen again. Yuya charges straight at the enemy, shouting that he knows exactly how they attack. He flips away from the first hit with ease, spots a gap in his enemy's defense, and strikes back instantly without hesitation. Ibon Heat knocks the Grey One dizzy, and the Pra sees he just needs to watch its moves and deal more damage. But then the monster roars, and strange things start to happen. He leaps back just in time to dodge death, only to get a few nasty scratches before being thrown hard against the wall. With a handful of his own strawberry juice, he says he's never heard of that attack, admits his knowledge of the future is useless, and concludes that with such an injury, winning is impossible. Shiaki picks himself up, reminding himself that he still has his arms and legs, and refusing to quit so soon, then yells for Grey to come at him. Just then, a message popped up saying everything was ready and the Akashic records had finally turned on. A strange symbol flashes up from the floor and suddenly whisks him away to a library, leaving him confused and wondering what on earth is going on. Shisaki opens his skill window, discovers he can instantly know everything about the dungeon, and after clicking confirm, a map pops up. He is stunned. Our boy admits this is the sort of secret anyone would kill to find. Even though the rain is falling, the monster strikes again just to remind him it hasn't gone away. The hero barely jumps back to dodge another blow, gritting his teeth and warning that if this keeps happening, he'll just keep getting hit from the sides. Trapped with no escape, he makes the bold choice to unleash his Aosic record skill. A bright golden light floods the room, and while many books lie scattered, only one floats toward the boy to open itself, revealing the page about Grey Fang. Yuya looks confused and says his mind is taking in all this information right now. He quickly finds the creature's patterns, smiles after a few seconds, and declares he understands everything, meaning his opponent's time is up. As the beast strikes once more with a paw, the hero notices that its attack pattern shifts with every hit, signaled by red lines that show when it can only use its right paw for shockwaves, meaning the left one is safe to ignore. The monster lets out a loud cry of pain when struck. Shisaki rushes ahead, using what he knows to step aside and guessing that a frustrated Grey will now go all out. A monster charges at the young man, who instantly knows what to do after tapping into his special powers. He focuses on a tiny spot, knowing this is the moment his perfect hit will land. As the creature screams, the hero shouts that he has won and sprints back with all his speed to land more knife strikes. Yuya flips away to check the damage he did to the enemy. He quickly sees that retreating is just his way of facing a stronger opponent. Realizing his enemy sees him as better than him, the protagonist wonders what eyes are now looking at him. As Arisa comes to from her faint, she spots her friend charging straight at Grey. Worried, she yells at him to stop, but it's already too late because our boy is so focused on what he thinks is his opponent's final move, not realizing he's already figured out exactly how to get away. He didn't even think twice before tossing Kamachi's weapon at the creature, hitting it right in the middle. Then he leaps into the air and slashes it with his own knife. As Grey lets out one final roar before falling silent, Shiosaki suddenly leaps ahead and hits level 12. After a while, Miyaga opens her eyes and asks where she is. Cradling the young woman in his arms, the protagonist feels a wave of relief that she is okay. Panicked and blushing, the girl asks what's going on. He gently lowers her and tells us that's the only way he knows to carry her. She steadied herself and asked if they had been attacked by monsters. Yuya confirms that Kamachi was caught in a trap but somehow managed to slip away safely. Thinking back to what she saw, the young girl starts to wonder if it was actually real. Seeing the strange looks on everyone's faces, the protagonist wonders if something is wrong. Arisa denies it, then bows to thank him for saving her. The boy, thinking hard, says that he got away from the trouble before. But since we know what happens next, that is the way to go. After walking for a bit, the pair finally stepped out of the dungeon and took a deep, happy breath of fresh air. The group leader steps forward and tells them they did a great job. Seeing how tense the young people looked, he told them they didn't need that. Since they had finally escaped safely, the foolish boy touched Managa in the wrong way, forcing our hero to step in and push him away, which startled Dai into asking what the young man was doing. Yuya says he could ask the same, because besides walking into a trap, he left them behind to die. With a shout, the red-haired guy grabs the young man and tells him to hush, insisting his choice was right because as the leader, no one dares question his orders. As the attack looms, the young woman warns him to watch out. Our boy used a special ability to slip away from the punch, grabbed Kamachi's arm and tossed him hard to the ground. Twitching in pain, the guy screams, "What the hell did I just do?" The proa confirms what he sees and asks if he should show it again. The trembling young redhead warns that if he reports the attacker to the guild, the man will vanish forever. Yuya says he doesn't care, since he has no plans to stick around in a guild with someone like him. He tosses Dichi's dagger to the ground, declaring he no longer needs it. As he screams, the leader shouts that he will never forgive him. The boy spins around and tells Arisa he's sorry that she had to see the fight. The young girl tells him it's fine but wonders if he truly means to leave the guild. She admits she'll feel lonely when the young man leaves, but Shiosaki points out that staying in the guild won't help her, suggesting she go too. Even though she agrees, the young woman says she can't quit her job as he tries to wake her up. Thinking the proa concludes that his friend must have her reasons, just as he only managed to save someone after going back in time. Suddenly, Miona says she wants to thank him again because even though she was unconscious, she dreamed of him standing strong and fighting, and that dream pushed her to try a little harder. Now our boy smiles, and decides to let the girl find her own way without stepping in. As they set off, the young girl vows to grow strong enough to stand by her friend and help them conquer the dungeon together. Yuya gazes at the sky and realizes the day he fears is coming sooner than he thought. Once they swapped contact info, the hero headed to the guild to say he was leaving, and since they only saw him as a helper, they let him go without any trouble. Walking down the street, he debates whether to sell the magic stone he stole from Gray, but decides there are bigger things to take care of first. After our boy finally makes it home and starts taking off his socks, someone suddenly appears and calls him brother. He fights to keep his feelings in check as he turns around and sees Kana wearing a pretty pink apron. As the proa picks up speed, he reaches out and hugs his sister with all his might just as he draws near. Surprised, the girl asks what happened. Trapped in a lie, he stayed quiet and claimed nothing had occurred. So the two stay wrapped in each other's arms for a while. After letting go of his little sister, our boy apologizes, only for the young woman to brush it off and say she's feeling well enough to have made dinner. We learn that Ka suffers from a painful magical exhaustion syndrome, where taking in magic hurts him. Even though the signs seem mild right now, they will slowly get worse until something terrible happens years down the road. Knowing that a clue to the cure exists, Yuya promises he will never let his sister slip away again. But to do that, he must turn his attention back to what he can do himself. To be more precise, it's about the special power of the Akashic records. After reading just a little about that attribute, the proa throws himself onto his bed and admits that everything he knows is nothing compared to how much there is still to learn. But if he learns this new power, he could become the strongest awakener in the world. Curious about the gift, he thinks about the creature that brought him back. Knowing that worrying about it won't help, he chooses to stop overthinking and just focus on his goal. He must grow strong enough to fight the monsters that will come later, because even if his sister is cured, she still needs the land to keep living. Next day, inside a forbidden dungeon, Shiosaki feels joyful as he finally finds the gate. They call a dungeon unapproved if no one has ever found it. When that happens, the responsible person must show up to the association, where they measure the magic in the dungeon before the awakened clean it out in groups based on its danger level. Disregarding this, our boy insists that using his knowledge to find forbidden dungeons alone is faster because he can trust the Akashic records to handle any surprises. He quickly uses his power, opens a book, and finds that everything there is just fine. Then, out of nowhere, a bunch of weak skeletons popped up. Suddenly cut off in his reading, the protagonist snatches up his knife and begins the messy cleanup. He was sure his current self could handle that kind of enemy. Our boy keeps striking hard, promising to keep this rhythm going until he finally gains a new power. We watched him do this for a few days, slowly tackling tougher dungeons as he got stronger. In just 3 days, the young man rushed through 3 dungeons and climbed all the way to level 24. Peering at his skill panel, Yuya sees that he needs to grow stronger because the gap between him and his tough opponents keeps getting wider. Lacking enough magic stones, he chooses to spend more time gathering funds. But when he spots the analyzer necklace on sale, he realizes it might just be the perfect tool for him to use now. The following morning, we were led to a magical tool auction, where an awakened card was required at the entrance to join the bidding. She looked at the protagonist and asked if he worked for the Eclipse Guild. He insists he is not part of any group right now. Then the receptionist says he's got to stick a different sticker on before he can walk in. A blonde girl watches them talk and starts to wonder if the boy is truly the guy everyone says was in the Eclipse Guild, even though he is just an E rank now. Inside the auction hall, Shiosaki realizes the magical item he wants won't show up for a while. He walks up to the same young girl and asks if the seat beside him is available. She stared at the sticker on her jacket and wondered how a D-rank fighter could be left out of the group. Sitting down, the girl asks him if he has ever joined the Eclipse Guild. With a nod of confirmation, she explains that her question makes sense because the guild is on the rise, so someone leaving is really strange. Truthfully, our boy says the group holds strength above everything else. Beatrice won't work for someone who hasn't got a natural knack for it. Feeling embarrassed, the young woman quickly apologizes for asking. While convinced the rumors were right, she quickly adds that she hasn't introduced herself yet, revealing her name is Noa Hoshiawa and that she has no guild to call her own. He smiled and introduced himself. Finally, the moment for the analyzer necklace arrives, and the auctioneer calls out that the opening bid is 500,000. Now that we are awake, everyone starts saying they don't know what this thing is, and that it's not worth the cost. Yuya thinks out loud that magic items shouldn't belong to just one person. As characters grow stronger and learn new tricks, it becomes a real bonus to have many of them sharing the same powerful ability, especially when that ability deals serious damage. The blonde girl complains that the seller is being too greedy, but she is startled when the hero raises his hand and places the first bid. Soon, everyone starts wondering if that item's power is actually good. Noah tries to talk the young man out of it, but the boy just smiles as the auctioneer hits the gavel and announces him the new owner of the necklace. Feeling annoyed, the girl tells him he needs to pick better, even if his heart really wants a new skill. Holding the item, the protagonist says it's fine, wondering how such a powerful skill is worth even more than the $500,000 he just spent. Suddenly a message pops up on both their phones, so they say their goodbyes and head their separate ways. By morning, we learn the mysterious email was a request from the association to gather volunteers for a dangerous dungeon run, offering special rewards to any awakened non-members who say yes. After spending all his money yesterday, Shiosaki quickly shows up at the D-class dungeon gate, where a crowd of awakened people are already waiting. As he gets closer, the young man is shocked to see Hoshiawa smiling, and saying she didn't think he'd be the last one, and when the level 26 Narasaka asks if he knows her, he confirms he ran into her by accident just yesterday. Therewangs, a young man with green hair, suggests that now that everyone has arrived, it's time to begin the adventure. Since his rank hasn't been updated, our guy is stuck carrying the bags for the dank crew, so the group sent him along just to keep things moving. Stepping through the gate with a grumble, he admits he can't fight this time. Later on, the man in golden armor tells the protagonist not to worry, since he is safe alongside Dank and Noah, a magical swordsman who is the strongest of them all. The group pushes deeper into the woods until they run into a gigorn beetle, the E-shouting kind. Arasaka says we'd best. As he and the young redhead rush at the creature, the proa notices the blonde girl and explains that the swordsman's skill is so powerful it grants her a rare boost right when she awakens. Hoshiawa leaps into the fight and unleashes a blast of purple lightning that explodes outward, forcing the two fighters to scramble back in defeat. Yuya stands frozen, unable to say a word at the sheer force of that power. As the armored boy spoke, he mentioned rumors that a famous guild was keeping an eye on the young girl. The group walks side by side with the girl as the proa apologizes for talking about her without asking. Noah says he's okay with it, but it looks like he still has one more question to ask. He cuts right to the chase by asking if the Eclipse Guild summoned her. She tells him she refused the offer because she hates guilds that throw away talented people just because they aren't as strong as others. A bit surprised, our boy just says he gets it. Once the talk is done, we keep moving forward until we finally reach the boss room, where a D-rank armored mantis is waiting. Monster lunges at the girl, but Narasaka rushes forward to take the hit. Then the rest move forward too. The swordswoman warns that the fight will be hard, but the armored boy insists the beast isn't really that fast. Our boy watched the quartet keep hitting the enemy hard, and in under 10 minutes the mantis was beaten down, leaving Hoshiawa relieved that the monster had finally fallen. But Shirosaki spots something strange and, feeling worried, tells everyone to hold on for a moment. The creature's armor cracks and bursts apart, sending debris flying, leaving everyone staring in shock as they now face an unarmored C-rank mantis. Knowing this was the boss's second form, Narasaka shouted for everyone to get ready. With her eyes closed, the swordsman waits for her fate, but Yuya suddenly steps forward to take the fight himself, apologizing for the wait and begging his friend to step back, proving he is ready to face the enemy head-on. As our boy reads about the divine eye of prophecy, he learns it only works under special rules and turns into something that no one can ever use again. He uses his secret strength to wait quietly until the monster comes closer. He lunged forward with his knife to strike, but was forced to fall back. Noah, stunned by what he sees, admits the boy is reading the enemy's moves and blocking every single attack. Even though he was just an E-rank awoken, he fought back as hard as he could, but the proa warned him to wait for a chance to strike, and in the end, the mantis's sudden move caught him completely off guard. We found that the divine eye of prophecy demands we truly know our target, or else the prediction fails and false visions might seem real right before our eyes. That's why the Awakened stopped using their power, since the unique monsters started showing up so much more often. With all he has, Yuya fights back against defeat, soon realizing he can turn his troubles around using the power of the Akashic records. Taking another look, he twirls the knife between his fingers and apologizes to his enemy, declaring that he can see through everything. A real talk starts, and the praying mantis slips away from the hits. Our boy insists he's not finished, so he turns on his speed boost and strengthens his body to land another round of punches on different parts of the monster. Still stunned, Noah realizes the boy can spot the enemy's weaknesses and asks who he is. Still standing, the creature slips away from the strike and bursts into the air to put some space between us. But then the hero's knife strikes the villain right in the leg. He locks eyes with his opponent and says he has warned them that he can see right through everything. Once Shirasaki found the perfect spot for the finishing strike, he asked Hoshiawa for his sword, and the confused young man simply tossed it right over. Seeing the praying mantis is close enough, our boy strikes the sword at its head, and messages of leveling up and new powers pop up. The rest of the group still can't believe their eyes, so Narasaka steps up to ask what happened, and if the young man really is rank E. The hero barely explained his situation, but he really wanted everyone to admit they took down the boss together. As he pondered that most Awakened like to lie about their strength, he knew he couldn't expect much from them. The armored boy nods in agreement, though he feels a little unsure, remembering how the young man nearly lost his own life to keep everyone safe. With everything settled, Noah thanks us for the boy's hard work. He handed back the girl's sword and told her it had been a huge help. When praised, the protagonist admits that higher-level Awakened ones could have taken down that enemy much more easily. Hoshiawa admits it makes him look even cooler, but realizing he's too close, he steps back and shares that while he's fought alongside stronger heroes in dungeons, watching someone handle an enemy with such skill was his first time ever, so the boy should just take the compliment and be happy about it. And with a grin, Shiraki gives thanks as the girl tells him he's finally got it. When the group reaches the glowing core that only appears after the boss falls, they find out that in the dungeons beneath the city, these cores are usually used to train new heroes, but sometimes they are destroyed to stop the monsters from multiplying too fast. As soon as he hits the core, a bright light bursts out, leaving him with a brand new magical weapon, the praying mantis knife. Surprised, our boy discovers the weapon works amazingly well on its own, and Norasaka steps up to give him the dagger as a gift from the group for slaying the boss. Yuya smiles, swings the knife a few times, and says it feels great to use. As everyone else went home, the protagonist was left alone with Noah, who asked to share his number so she could talk about something important. After getting his number, the young woman, her face turning pink, tells the young man he can call her by her first name so they don't sound so stiff. The protagonist tells her he can't wait to keep working with her. Once he got home, he remembered that he never checked his status after beating the praying mantis. When he lifts the panel, he is stunned to find that the level of the Akashic records has climbed right along with it. Now you can peek at the basics of dungeons that are still coming up. Confused, our boy taps to peek further and sees that rarity and level details are now shown, meaning the long hunt for forbidden dungeons is finally over. He took a moment to look over the list, picked his next dungeon, and then stopped. After spotting the stamped beast cave, labeled Class C, he heads out to that very spot the very next day. Your first enemy is a red-horned boar so powerful it can knock out anyone above level 40 with just one charge. The beast lunges with its new dagger, but Yuya yells at it to be quiet while landing his very first hit. He realized the monster was far weaker than the mantis. With his sharp knife, our boy strikes the boar down hard, sending it collapsing into a puddle of its own red juice. With his victory, the young man's level jumps up to 31. Thinking that the dungeon's difficulty matched his research and that it was the perfect place to test his new weapon, he was ready to go. The trouble was, he had only gained a level once. Our boy checks the calendar, sees that stopping the first disaster is the only way to change his past, and feels restless because he's moving too fast. Once he leaves the dungeon, he thinks to himself that his powers are still too weak, so he must reach level 60 before the disaster strikes. But then Yuya spots a new S-rank dungeon appearing, a rare and deadly challenge that could earn amazing rewards, leaving him wondering if he should risk his life to clear it even though he knows no one has succeeded before. We ended up at the hospital, where the protagonist told his sister to listen closely to the nurses. Even though Kana insists she's grown up, we learn the girl was actually in the hospital to see if her sickness is getting worse, and as the boy walks away, he promises his sister that he will make her well again very soon. As he stepped out of the building, he thought he saw Arisa, but quickly convinced himself it was just a trick of the light. He chooses to stick to his plan and face the rare dungeon, knowing the dangers ahead. Over the last few days, our boy has pushed himself to the very limit and grown as strong as he can be. When he finally reached the place, he realized why nobody could clear that dungeon and admitted he never thought a dungeon could hide inside another one. As Shiosaki steps toward the entrance, he realizes he must clear out the extra dungeon before going in. We found out the dungeon is named Rock Fortress, and it's Class C. Nihiro, the protagonist, wonders if another dungeon might suddenly pop up. He chose to find the deepest spot nearby. Once he picks the right entrance, he suddenly finds himself staring right into the eyes of a Dan golem. Seeing that he's about to be attacked, our boy leaps forward, shouting that he can't waste time fighting the creatures. He runs, knowing it's rude, but he needs to reach his goal. Soon, a young man reached a rocky wall studded with glowing crystals, slipped through a narrow gap, and found himself facing the final boss, a massive red golem from the C rank. The monster is so angry he's about to punch, but Yuya uses a special move to dodge and jumps high into the air. He opens his assault by striking with his mantis dagger. Suddenly the enemy strikes back, pushing him all the way back. Even though the enemy is stronger, the hero decides the only real challenge is breaking through the creature's tough armor. Seeing that his slashes aren't hurting the enemy, he activates a skill to make himself tough, and after landing another hit, he smiles because his new plan is finally working. The boy charges into the fight once more, declaring that what comes next will be a test of who can last the longest. He attacks the big guy again without stopping until he finally lands a deadly blow that sends the golem crashing to the ground, and even though he is out of breath after nearly 30 minutes of fighting, he knows he has won. Now that he has reached level 40, he turns his full attention to the main event. As he drew near the core, he warned that if the records are right, a surge of magical power is waiting inside. As soon as he touches the object, a bright light floods the whole cave. Then the sphere bursts apart into fragments, revealing a portal behind it. Feeling pumped, Yuya realizes the hidden dungeon deep inside is the one nobody ever cleared in his first life. But that's fine, because he's ready to find out what the place is really made of. They move us to a new place where someone tells Dichi this is his second failure, and the desperate boy insists there is a reason behind it. Meska Ren, the leader of the Eclipse Guild, spins around and asks if that reason is truly strong enough to make him believe it. The leader recalls a girl who was the very first member of the guild to have a special ability. We found out he was talking about Arisa, who, a few days after her meeting with Grey Fang in the dungeon, climbed to level 10 during another fight and unlocked a special skill called Almighty Enhancement. She rushed to the guildmaster, who explained that her rare natural skill appeared early because it's usually a sign of awakening, so the young man taught her that such abilities often only show up after reaching a certain level. Those with rare talents shine brighter than everyone else, so that young woman will rise to become a powerful awakened master. Mayaga quickly saw that Misako was right, because her amazing skills let her use all kinds of buffs, while also reaching such a high level that she earned a spot in an elite group, helping her climb all the way to level 26. The only trouble was that her power made some people angry, but she was still determined to reach her goal. But right now, the guildmaster asks if the two of them are ready. The girl, the jealous guy, and their friend all said yes, so the three of them walked straight into a famous dungeon. They were thrust into a Class E dungeon. The young redhead with red hair looks puzzled, saying it feels like only a week has gone by, then explains they had to run away when a much stronger monster showed up, but now they have come back with their leader, a powerful rank B awakened. Kamachi told the young man he didn't have to go himself, but he seemed troubled by something. When the young redhead steps into the trap room, he suggests we should just take out the boss right now. Meska smiles and says that is exactly why they are here. She pressed her hand to the crystal, and suddenly a powerful rank C fang of the highest tier sprang into existence. The pair stood silent as the white-haired young man revealed that he had already guessed the truth when he read the report. We found out that the monster is bigger now because it matches the size of the person who got caught in the trap. The beast lunges at the guildmaster, who wisely pulls back, and while Arisa asks if she should strike, he shakes his head and unleashes a rapid series of powerful hits. With strawberry juice splattered all over him, he claims that the monster can't even be called an enemy. Noticing the young man lost in his own thoughts, the girl gently asks if something is wrong. Ren realizes that since Shiosaki stopped the beast when Daichi ran away, that monster was just as strong as the guy who fled. The leader, though smiling, told Yuya that while everything was fine, he should thank the young man for keeping the guild's most important members safe. He shifts the topic and asks if the two of them are ready to step into a dungeon that promises great rewards. The red-haired guy, buzzing with excitement, declares he's totally ready. When asked where he got that information, the master hides the truth and offers a weak excuse. Lost in thought, Managa recalls how incredible things happened last week and realizes it was all because of the proa who saved her. That's why she wants to show her thanks in the best way possible. Mesika says that with that issue settled, it's finally time to turn their attention to the boss. They both agree, but the young redhead is too worried about sending a message to Shirasaki, while a dark shadow escapes the defeated creature and starts moving toward the guildmaster. At the same time, our hero steps into the secret dungeon known as the Judgment Chamber and is stunned by what he finds inside. After walking through the portal, he checked the place and figured it was just what any real dungeon should look like. Instantly, the portal behind him vanishes, meaning he must meet certain conditions to finish the mission, and a huge green bird suddenly swoops down and strikes him. After dodging the blow, the proto realizes he's facing a rank C wind bird. The beast dives back at him and gets hit with a dagger, making our boy feel relieved that he finally took down one of them. But a flock of birds was circling above, waiting for the perfect chance to strike, and after finally clearing the sky, he decided to open the ancient records of that place. As Yuya reads, he learns the hidden dungeon has 2 layers, and he must finish every mission to move forward. The first challenge is to fight off endless waves of monsters for 36 straight hours. Even though the truth was brutal, the protagonist felt relieved to have mastered the record's secret. Realizing he must be careful with his limited points, even when using his special ability to see the future. Even though he knows a new challenge waits after this mission, he pushes it aside for now to focus on more urgent problems ahead. Our hero dashes forward with all his might, determined to solo that whole horde of level 30 to 35 monsters. The ogre swings its club to crush him, but he barely defends himself with his other dagger, which snaps apart in the clash. Facing his enemies, Shirasaki knows a knife isn't enough, so he hurls his broken dagger at a goblin, leaps forward to snatch its sword, and suddenly has many more ways to fight. Now that he's reached level 41 and armed with 2 weapons, he declares it's finally time to go all out. After hours, we see the young man is so tired he can barely stand up. Even though he knows the mission is tough, he swings his weapons non-stop, and suddenly a level 40 Fang jumps in to join the fight, staring right at that monster. Our boy admits this is truly a fight from hell. But in a flash, he remembers what used to happen in his past life. He leaps into the air and declares that he has faced far worse nightmares than this. After beating up the enemy, he hits level 47 and moves on to the next challenge. After enduring 35 hours and 50 minutes, the hero grits his teeth and pushes through the final 9 minutes. So he throws his last bit of energy at the remaining foes until a message pops up saying the mission is done, and then a timer starts counting down 12 hours before revealing how well you did. A cabin suddenly shows up in the middle of the field, so Yuya heads there to rest until the report is ready. Sitting inside the cabin, he takes a deep breath to rest in a sphere that cleanses his body of dirt and lets him heal more health while he sleeps. With the next mission looking harder, our boy mixes his potions to train his body and mind before taking a nap to rest. 12 hours later, he wakes up and steps outside to stretch just as a message flashes on his screen, announcing that the challenger had vanquished monsters far beyond their limit, even though he was confirmed at the mission's start to be no stronger than the dungeon's standard. They handed out extra points. Suddenly, a blinding light vanishes and a judgment chamber key falls right into Shiasaki's palm, forcing him to choose. Face the challenge now or walk back within an hour, knowing that if he leaves, he will lose the key forever. After studying the gate, our boy pauses to think, then, refusing to give up, he uses his record skill to uncover the truth. The final mission has a simple goal: hunt one of 3 monsters like a giant cyclops or a fire salamander. The hero realizes that the first 2 monsters are strong but easy to read, leaving the third one as the only truly dangerous and complicated foe. After stepping through the gate, he finds himself in a quiet forest clearing and knows his hardest opponent is waiting there. The voice shouts that the final mission has started, and the young man must defeat the Silver Eagle Knight, a rank B enemy level 65. Our boy tries to stay calm as the creature looms above him, but the enemy strikes first, proving it can see the future. Yuya flies backward but lands on his feet, keeping his cool. He says that if someone had charged him head-on, he would already be dead. The worst part is that the beast has locked its divine eye of prophecy shut. We find that our boss has golden eyes that let him see and react like a superhero. So the knight watches the boy's eyes to guess what he'll do next. After the eagle misses its strike and tries to fight back, the hero slips away safe and sound. Worried, he admits that until the future is clear, he can't use his prophetic sight against the enemy, who is now his biggest threat. Knowing he can see the future, our boy realizes that whoever has more raw power will win. Knowing that the height gap is pointless, the boss leaps out from the sword fight and strikes. Hirasaki realizes that if he steps back too far, the creature won't even bother attacking because it will just soak up all the nearby magic and blast it back with everything it has. To prove his point, the knight unleashes a blast from his magic cannon. By just a hair's breadth, the hero manages to slip to the side at the last second, thinking it was all just a joke. But just then, an eagle swoops in from behind and kicks the boy hard with its leg, sending him crashing into a tree. No hurt, our boy admits the power gap is too wide, but he suddenly recalls that in this new life, he now has many amazing abilities, including a divine eye that could change everything if he can use it. The real reason he kept fighting even though he wasn't talented is that he finally stared his own weaknesses in the face. Keeping this in mind, he chooses to turn off his powers so that when he faces the enemy, he can remember how it feels to fight as a weakling. The knight sees something and starts to back away. As Shirosaki realizes he must first study the enemy's 3 types of weapons before charging forward, he notices that his own golden eyes and strength are too powerful to let the magic cannon close the gap, so he immediately strikes back with his sword. With his special powers turned off, the boy gives it everything to dodge deadly strikes while searching for a way to fight back and stay ahead. Without any healing potions left to save him, our boy realizes he's about to lose. But he changes his mind and runs straight toward the enemy. The creature is shocked by how fast it can move and can't figure out how it does it. The main character insists there is only one path to fixing this mess. He watches his opponent closely until he spots a crack in his defense. He threw everything he had into dodging the non-stop attacks. He decides he just has to do it right now. With a potion in hand, Yuya watches his enemy charge right at him. As he hurls the potion, he notices the eagle flying away, proving it can't move while the magic cannon is charging. When his sword flies far away, our boy smashed the magic vial with his dagger, sending the potion meant to supercharge the knight's cannon into the air just as it was about to explode. Just as we expected, a massive explosion lit up the air. Even so, the eagle keeps its sword and lives on, only to be struck by Shiosaki, who used his prophetic vision to see that the moment had finally come for him to strike back. Realizing they can't reach him anymore, he pushes forward one more time, striking with every ounce of strength he has left. With nowhere else to go, the knight gets hit all over until he makes one final desperate choice, to fire his magic cannon one last time. Okiro realizes the enemy is foolishly drinking in magic right before it tears itself apart. The boss is surrounded by flames and realizes too late that the boy has escaped and is now swooping down from the sky. With a loud scream, our boy hits the knight on the shoulder, sending him crashing to the ground in total defeat. As soon as we win, a message pops up telling us we can finally leave the judgment chamber. With that, Yuya finally hits level 57. A strange voice whispers that the dungeon's conqueror will be handed out a reward based on their points and how well they finish the job. After drinking the potions he needed, the protagonist wonders what prize awaits him for finishing the toughest mission, 10 levels below the norm, only to discover that 2 special rewards are coming his way. The first thing is that they can hold an endless amount of stuff. The protagonist, wide-eyed with shock, declares he has never seen anything like this powerful force in his entire past life. A bright light flickers back on to show the second prize, a sword just like the Silver Eagle Knights, holding 3 separate powers that are all equally strong. As our boy wields the legendary sword, growing stronger with every step, he knows without a doubt that all his hard work was worth it. When he sees the gate, he decides to head back home. Outside, he can't wait to take a breather, but instead finds a message from Arisa waiting for him. The protagonist feels thrilled to discover that the girl has unlocked a special power. But after reading that, she decided to join the big guild raid happening on July 1st. He knows something is wrong because this kind of invasion is supposed to happen on the 7th day. He runs because he realizes everyone is in danger. Managa and her group are about to walk into the rank B dungeon known as Desert Land. Takahashi Isuyoshi, the proud master of the Warriors Guild, grins with excitement and confirms that everything unfolded just as Misaka predicted. Yato Ryota, the mighty leader of the Great Wizards Guild, nods in agreement and says they are very likely to find a top-tier magical treasure. The boss of the Eclipse Guild insists we find all the needed items so we can split them up. Suddenly the boy shouts for Arisa, and she jumps with a start. As he gets closer, he tells the young woman that her special power is essential, so she should use it without worry. She believed that if she was invited to join the team, she had to give her absolute best. Suddenly she checks her phone and sees that Shiosaki hasn't answered yet. And so, right then she decided to turn her full attention to clearing out the dungeon. After 2 hours and a few defeated monsters, Ren declares it's showtime and shouts at everyone to get ready and attack the rank B Minotaur dungeon boss. The team moves instantly to fight, and Managa stands stunned as she finally understands what a high-level awakened attack feels like. The white-haired man tells her right now to use her power. The young woman obeys, and Misaka calls down his sword, Helheim. But with one strike, he declares that the fight is over. As the crowd stares in shock at the weapon's power, 2 other guildmasters announce that the reward has arrived, and the leader of Eclipse steps forward to claim the core he has waited so long for. He says the portal will open any second now. And Takanashi was so curious that he doubted he'd ever destroy the core, which surprised everyone, but Ren quickly said he'd never do such a terrible thing, not even in a dream. After all, that was what he had truly wanted all along. The same black shadow slips out of the Minotaur and darts straight to the boy, who grins and says it's time for the big reveal. The other members shouted in confusion, asking what was going on and what it all meant. Meska begins by explaining that he can pull the shadows from anyone he kills and make them work for him like his own team. Arisa feels confused and wonders why he kept that hidden from her this whole time. Without saying a word, the boy admits that talking to creatures is a side effect that made him realize he was chosen to lead. So when he accepted the offer, he learned that the core's magic could open a gate, releasing unseen monsters, starting the first disaster known as the Vanguard of the Black Shadow, with him as its leader, meaning everyone present must obey him and turn into shadows as well. The other two masters stared in shock and asked if the whole attack had been planned with that goal from the very start. Ren confirmed he needed to find people with special skills, but Arisa's unique power suddenly changed his plan, offering a massive boost that made waiting a week or recruiting a crowd unnecessary. The girl asks when he started planning this, and he replies that it's been going on since always. He then asks if it doesn't seem strange that her mother is battling severe magical exhaustion and resting in a big hospital. Oh, and Misaka admits she only helped because she had her own secret plan. The young woman argued that it makes no sense, since she was hired despite having no talent at all. But the leader says his power lets him spot the hidden talents in anyone he might lead. That's why he was certain she would always wake up. He waited with excitement for the perfect moment, even starting his own group to find the few who could become his shadowy allies. He points at Miyanaga, declaring her the perfect choice and the very first to go. Taking the lead, Etu and Takahashi declare they won't let that happen. Ren taps into his power and commands both to bow while they wait their turn, leaving the duo shocked at how strong the young man really is. Screaming, the red-haired girl warns that she's about to cast a buff. But suddenly, she drops to her knees, realizes her magic has vanished, and sees that the leader planned everything as he steps forward to strike. With her eyes shut tight, Arisa wonders if this is truly the end and begs for help, but then a sharp blow lands and through her tears, she realizes she feels no pain at all. But when she opens her eyes, she finds that Yuya has come to her rescue. That face-to-face with the enemy, he promises to settle this matter. Hope lights up in the eyes of the red-haired girl. Ren is surprised to see the young man there and asks why he has come. When questioned about the need for that answer, he says he would like to thank the boy who saved Miyanaga long ago, for he made all of that possible. It turns out the young guy always knew everything, even though he had some strange power. The proa remembers that the same man who triggered the first disaster and killed so many awakened is responsible for the past. Since he's the only one who knows the truth, he vows to stop the boy at any cost, while Misaka laughs and tells Shiosaki that taking down one attack doesn't make him special. At the end of the day, no one with a normal power can stop him unless someone even stronger steps in. That news reminds him of a time before things went wrong, when the leader fought Kamachi and couldn't stop Arisa from dying. When he was challenged, Ren struck the boy. Yuya froze at the sight of his first death, and he knew then he had to leave that guild. A few weeks later, the first disaster struck, leaving nearly 30% of Japan's awakened dead until a powerful rank B awakened killed Misaka, making the hero realize he might have done nothing at all, and drowning him in a tide of guilt that would last forever. But now he has a chance to stop the first disaster, which is why he never showed his power and worked hard just to get strong. Though he suspects his own pride might be clouding his judgment, the Proto insists he must fight until the very end because he has no time to waste. So the leader of the Eclipse Guild decides to play his final card and summons a Grey Fang to instantly eliminate the young man. As Minotaur and Giant Wolf rush Yuya, Arisa watches in fear, but the boy slashes his sword to unleash flame wings that instantly blast both monsters away, leaving Misaka utterly stunned, just like everyone else watching. When asked about his power, the Proto explained that his enemy made a fatal mistake by calling him insignificant, never realizing he had just met his greatest threat. Leader of the Eclipse Guild asks the young man why he thinks that our boy promises to wait until the fighting stops, while the red-eyed one laughs and decides to stop asking questions, instead planning to kill the young man and turn him into shadow to see what secrets he keeps. When Yuya sees his enemy charging at him, he realizes that this strange power is tied to the sword and only lets him control the shadows of people he kills, which is the only reason the others who woke up are still alive. The moment the first hit lands, our boy raises his sword and blocks it. We chose to strike back right away so our enemy wouldn't get a chance to catch their breath. Misaka proves she's just as quick, and the two of them begin trading hits. Frozen in fear, Dichi couldn't believe the young man was actually standing up to the guild leader. Stepping back, the proa realizes the battle will be just as tough as it expected, while his enemy struggles to understand where Ren's new strength comes from and vows to stop Arisa from getting her magic back. Ren shifts his strategy. As shadows start to appear, Shiroki asks the boy if he really thinks that will work. The boy's story insists that shadows are nothing more than a distraction. Just after nearly taking a fatal hit, he realizes the young man can juggle two tasks at once. The proa strikes again, sending his rival flying, so Misaka realizes Yuya's sword is the real threat and that using shadows to attack won't work. In a dry, cynical tone, he apologizes for being rude and admits the boy is one of their kind, making him perfect as his first subordinate, while the boy rejects the label of genius, insisting he couldn't even fight hard enough to earn it and is truly just an ordinary person. Ren asks the boy what he's talking about, and the protest explains that he'll defeat a genius simply because he is an ordinary person. The two friends started trading silly hits until the guild boss saw he'd lose, so when a deep slash appeared on his shoulder, he couldn't believe where Shiosaki's energy had suddenly come from, even though he acts like he has endless power. With little else left to try, Misaka pulls out his final trick, soul purification. The shadows that kept everyone else awake vanish, revealing a power that trades the lives of subordinates for a burst of super strength. With a fierce desire to win the fight, the boy makes a hard choice. He gives up most of his shadows. He shouts at Yuya to get ready to die right here and now. I saw the guild leader rush toward the young man. The crowd watches with hearts pounding, dreading the terrible thing they expect to happen. But our hero isn't done yet, so he boosts every skill to perfection and blocks the enemy's attack right before it hits. Shocked, the white-haired man can't believe he still isn't winning after everything he did, so both get ready for the next fight while the proto says it's time to end it. As the blows come one after another, Takahashi and Etu wonder just how wild this fight has become. While Ariza worries about her friend pushing with the sword, the proa insists he'll win since he holds the advantage, and breathless Masaka admits he's shocked but refuses to let the young man pass him. We asked if he was alright, noticing how all his attention was locked on just one thing. Looking down, the proto sees a shadow biting his ankle and altering his path, so he destroys the creature with a grin, only for Ren to warn that such a slip in a moment like this is a death sentence. Even so, Shirosaki dodges the blow, but the enemy shouts that it isn't over and charges again, while the guild leader sees the opening he made and knows a counterattack is coming. He quickly decided his attack couldn't be stopped. We find out that his sword holds the very heart of death, and how that power shows up depends entirely on who wields it. So those easy shots are so simple they force you to hit a target from way out there. Ren screams that this is the boy's end. But then something shifts, and our boy reveals that he never truly shared a bond with him, meaning their fates were never meant to be linked because his sense of duty might have been pointless all along. But even so, a heavy mix of regret and guilt kept pushing him forward. So he wants to say sorry and admit he saw this coming all along. Strawberry juice streams from Masaka's wound as she surrenders and hits the ground. The crowd stared in shock, unable to believe they had just survived it. Shirosaki looks up with relief as the enemy, still breathing, can't believe he lost. The old man claims he warned the boy, yet the boy insists the old man was his worst enemy, so when the boy's extra strength fades and he collapses to his knees, Arisa rushes over to check if he is okay. Once the proa helped her stand up, she thanked it, but the girl insisted that she was the one who should be saying thank you. Then she finally realized that being saved last time wasn't a dream. Because the boy risked his life once again, Managa speaks for everyone to say the most sincere thank you of her life. This brings our boy to remember what his sister said right before she passed away in his past life, thinking he has finally made Kana's wish come true. Then the boy gave Arisa a thank you. Just as he was about to explain, another awakened being jumps in to gush about how amazing he is. Looking back, Takahashi wonders what they will do with Misaka. Our boy says the only right move is to hand him over to the association's special division because anyone who tries to hurt others has to face the consequences. Even knowing the people would be angry that Ren wasn't put to death. Yuya decides his special power might help him solve the dungeon's secrets down the line. So he makes up his mind to tackle the heart of that dungeon. Arisa says the leader told her that item would bring a swarm of monsters down on the world. The crowd agrees it's true, but now they must smash the core before it fully powers up. As the sphere shatters, dark shadows wrap around the young man, leaving him confused in the gloom as he asks where he is. Even though he can't put it into words, he says it feels like he's been there before. There's then a second black ball floated right in front of him. But the pro awakes from his daydream when Mayanaga calls out to him, promising that everything will be okay. As we wonder what happened next, the group leaves the dungeon, Ren is given to the association, everyone gets sent home because they are so tired, and the red-haired girl excitedly shouts that we should go home now. Agreeing to go with her, our boy joins her as they leave, while back in a dangerous dungeon, a blonde girl watches the beast she just defeated. As she gazes at the starry sky, she spots that a dark star is gone, proving that someone has managed to change the future. We learned her name was Asakura Rian, an awakened powerhouse at rank S and level 236, who stood second in the national rankings. In a few days after the big operation in Kana's room, Shiosaki tells us his sister just needs to hang on until tomorrow. He tells her he'll head off now but will come back tomorrow to take her home. With a smile, the girl thanks her older brother. Down on the hospital's lower floor, the proa runs into Arisa, who is there to check on her mom. On the journey home, the pair bonded, and the girl shared stories about her mother and her unique gift. After realizing his sister isn't the only one sick, our boy knows he has to find a cure right away. And as he wakes up, he tells the young woman it's time to head to the association. Kyose's out the window, puzzled by the girl beside her brother, only for a nurse to suddenly appear and tell her to get some rest. Lying in bed, the young woman says she will question Yuya the next day. She spins around at the news of the dungeon attack involving Misaka to discover that the awakened hero who helped solve the crisis has taken the boy's spot in the national rankings. And are whisked away to the association's main office, where Suzuki from the General Affairs Department offers a heartfelt apology for the last-minute call. Arisa and Shiosaki say it's no problem. Then they shared the details of their day by answering a few questions. Ren didn't speak a word after he woke up. Proto wonders if thinking about the proto means he won't be able to get more information anytime soon. The red-haired girl, full of curiosity, asks the man what he would like to talk about on his own. Suzuki cuts straight to the truth. The Eclipse Guild is now gone, and Misaka has been kicked off the national rankings. The man reveals that the top 100 are called rankers and that position 86 will now belong to the young man, leaving the confused Proa wondering what it all means for him. The news hits the two of them so hard that they stand frozen, unable to speak or move. With a grin, Arisa calls it amazing, and the bespectacled man nods to confirm that not only has his power been proven, but that the top warriors and mages have also recommended him. Thinking, our boy says it's the first time he's been officially recognized that way. Suzuki adds that several guilds have sent invitations to Mayanaga. Yuya quickly sees that the young woman's special gift is truly amazing. The girl asks if she can take some time to think about it, leaving him quite surprised. As the meeting finally ends, both walk out of the room feeling light and happy. Arisa beams with joy as she congratulates her friend on becoming a ranker. Iroha thanked her and admitted it was just luck, but the young woman shook her head and said she had a question she needed to ask. Nana shout snaps the duo's heads up. At the front desk, a man demanded that they bring him the person who supposedly beat Misaka. When Shiosaki heard his name called, he turned around to face Gakuto Shimura, the guy who sits at number 87 on the national list. The guy asks the young man if that's the person he's been waiting to see. With a confirmed admission, he revealed that he had taken Misaka's spot in a fit of fury, fully intending to fight the boy. But Ranker admits the Proa must have cheated to pull off that feat, so he's challenging him to a duel for the 86th spot. Our boy sees the mess is tangled up, but he's not forced to just go along with it. Since he knows people will doubt him later, he should grab this chance right now to prove how strong he really is. As he gets closer, he steps forward and says he is ready to take on the challenge. 10 minutes later, standing in the training field at the association's HQ, Yuya realizes his magic is still weak since he hasn't fought any monsters yet. Ikuto smiles, happy to see that the boy ran away. While thinking that he only holds that position because of rumors saying he fought in a group and believing it's an old man's duty to correct a novice's mistake. Everyone in the crowd is certain Shimura will win. The announcer calls out that the only way to win is to knock out your opponent or make them give up because taking their life is strictly forbidden. And as soon as the duel starts, the axe wielder charges into the attack and claims he will reveal who the real protagonist is. Aimed with his sword, Shiosaki blocks the strike while shouting. The enemy tells him to stop thinking he can beat me with that kind of skill. The crowd chatters that the short-haired boy is living up to his name, leaving his opponent with no choice but to defend himself. Isa looks worried and whispers that something isn't right. Just like in the fight with Misaka, her friend turned out to be much stronger. Now that he's figured it all out, our boy promises to finally stop holding back and grant his opponent's wish. After getting hurt, Gakuto is confused to see the boy suddenly hit with such perfect accuracy. The proto says it's not over and keeps hitting him one after another until the boy is pushed all the way back. The fans wonder why this is happening, but the conclusion is clear. Yuya's skill is so amazing it can level the playing field against anyone, regardless of their rank. Shimura wondered if the young man was holding back, then realized the proa warned that if he beat him too fast, the crowd wouldn't understand what happened. That was why he paused to figure out exactly how much he could afford to hold back. Furious at being underestimated, the ranker vows that while he didn't mean to, he will now kill Shirasaki. Outside the training field, a girl wearing a beret hears the news about the upcoming ranking battle. Kikuto unleashes his crimson break, slamming into the ground and cracking it right near the stands. Our boy figured that this special power makes him super strong and turns his axe into a deadly weapon. Curious, he wondered if killing in that kind of fight was actually forbidden. The boy shrugs it off and tells the scared kid that if he's afraid of dying, he should just give up now. Then he claimed he wouldn't give him any chance to do that. To stop the blows, the proto insists that an opponent's strength doesn't matter because a single slip-up ruins everything. After weighing the situation, the ranker decides he must shatter the young man's sword to end the defense, so he boosts his power just enough to strike the weapon. The blade holds strong, but the impact knocks the sword from Shiosaki's hand, leaving him to punch his opponent right out of the ring. Everyone gasps in shock as they watch Shimura take a hit. The enemy sees the young man grab his sword and instantly knows he can store things. The proa confirms the fight is over, so the ranker must decide between surrendering or dying. Worried, the boy argues that fighting monsters out there means certain death, so he insists they must restart the duel because it isn't fair. The crowd shakes their heads and calls this the stupidest excuse they've ever heard. He knows that picking up a weapon could hurt his opponent badly. Yuya tells them to drop their weapons and fight with their fists. With a triumphant grin, Shimura agrees and vows to make the boy regret his decision. The proa slams the slow boy to the ground with a single swift move and demands to know if that is all he has. As the ranker jumps back into the fight, shouting it's not over yet, we realize that while he can read the protagonist's every move, his own lack of talent in a past life drove him to master special powers, giving him the edge in real combat whether he has a sword or not. As we watch the fight, the mysterious girl is stunned by a sudden move from our boy. Determined to protect his pride as a top fighter, Gakuto ignores the rules, grabs his axe, and goes for a killing blow. But the proa raises his sword to catch the flying axe, then snatches the mantis dagger and strikes his opponent right in the neck. Right away, the boy hits the ground and insists he can't have lost. Yuya sheaths his knife and watches as the crowd cheers him on non-stop, only for the announcer to crown him the victor, prompting Arisa to be the very first to rush over and embrace him. The protote says Shimura didn't have much experience in that kind of fighting since he was only used to battling monsters. Suddenly, two people rush in, and everyone just stands there staring in shock. This is Tanoji Taiga, the 82nd ranked fighter, and Asakura Ryan. Our boy instantly thinks back to the moment the girl asked why he fought so hard, even when it cost. Now the young girl steps forward, tells her name, and asks the boy if he has a moment to talk about something important. The quartet moves to a quiet spot, and Arisa forces herself to stay calm so she doesn't panic, even though she was invited to the meeting. Asakura introduces herself again, but Yuya and Mayanaga already know her, and the protagonist realizes that while she was once the strongest awakened who defeated Misaka in his past life, here in this world, she only ranks second. The ranker sighed and apologized for letting the young man down with that news. Our boy stands confused, wondering what is going on around him. But a blonde young woman breaks his daydream and cuts straight to the point, saying she wants to thank him because it should have been her who dealt with Ren. Idoesa asks Ryan if he knew the boy was planning, confirming that she is ready to reveal something despite Tanoji's strong opposition. With a snap of her fingers, a map of the stars suddenly floats in front of everyone. A ranker says her power lets her see terrible events coming before they happen. But since the system isn't perfect, we can't always find the exact moment or size of something. That's why she wants to thank the boy for saving her from the worst possible outcome. A guy with brown hair and red hair tells his friend they don't have to bow, but she insists it is necessary. Shirasaki gently tells the young girl to lift her head and explains that he only did what was necessary. Even so, Asakura says she wants to give something back. The protagonist speaks plainly, saying he plans to start a guild and asking if Istari Sky Grove would support him. Turns out you can't just build a group on your own wins. You need a respected guild to back you, which is why the young woman's existing team is the perfect pick. She tells him she trusts him and agrees to join the plan, even though she had been planning to invite him to her own guild instead. But now he has to find the right people and tell her the truth. Keiga, feeling annoyed and still not recognizing the young man for being too arrogant, tells Ryan to bow her head. As the boy walks away, Arisa wonders what just happened, but he just tells her not to worry about it. As she steps out of the building, the young woman asks if he really wants to form a guild. He realizes that the coming disasters will be too big for him to handle alone, so he'll need talented allies to help fight them. Yuya snaps out of his daydream and invites Miyaga to join his team. But just then, Noah waved and walked right up to interrupt them. The girl apologizes for cutting in, and the protagonist starts thinking of a way to make things less messy. Once he finishes explaining, he brings the young woman forward and suddenly the room settles back into peace. Hosokawa said she'd heard about the Eclipse Guild and was shocked to hear the boy's name. Remembering how the swordswoman and her friends saved him before, Shirasaki says thanks and gets ready to tell Arisa about the guild she plans to start. A little surprised by the invitation, the young woman says she'd be more than happy to stand and fight by his side again. So she nods and signs up for the guild, completely trusting her heart over her sight. Noah stares at the two of them, fighting hard to ignore the scary thought that something bigger is happening there. She asks if the boys' group still has room, since she's always dreamed of joining a guild. Thinking of all he's done, the protagonist finally trusts the swordswoman and her skills. Then she spoke the words aloud to show she was truly part of the team. Mayanaga can't wait to work with the girl, and before long, the two are best friends. Shisaki figured that all they needed now was one more person to make the guild official. Suddenly, a loud emergency alarm echoes through the building as a gate breaks in the B-rank dungeon, forcing the awakened heroes to get ready for battle right away. It turns out that when a dungeon's magic overflows and threatens to collapse, the only way to stop it is to defeat the boss and shatter its core. Asakura shows up again, catching the trio completely off guard. Yuya asks what's going on, and the young woman replies that besides the gate breaking, other breaks have been confirmed in 2 rank C dungeons. Our boy can't believe what he's seeing, because nothing like this has ever happened before, even in his past life, proving that the first disaster was stopped and things have truly changed. Norm promises to handle the dangerous B-rank dungeon and asks the young man to lead a safer C-rank one instead. He chooses to figure out the reasons later and tells the proto that he gets it. Tanoji refuses to let a beginner take on such a dangerous mission on his own. She nods that she gets it, then the leader says the boy will join the team to fight right under Shiasaki's command. After all, she can handle the dungeon by herself, giving him a perfect chance to test if the young man is really trustworthy. The proa asks who will guard the other dungeon, and we learn it will be the mysterious girl in the beret. And that we're ready, the group gets up and heads out. And the young man walked away. Arisa and Noah said they would follow him. Our boy checks their levels and sees the redhead is 31 and the blonde is 35, so he decides to let them join him since they need a level 35 just to clear the dungeon. Eventually, the quartet reaches their goal, and Yuya steps up to face the monsters waiting just outside. Standing next to Tenoji, he keeps hitting the enemies over and over again. When Noah asks how he got so strong, he simply ignores the question and steps inside. We found out that the dungeon is named Hyorsikutsu, a place people call the sacred cave of the ice spirit. Inside the red mech, the ranker asks if they shouldn't have made their choice before stepping in. Proto says that normally it would be right, but he doesn't need it since his Akashic Records ability handles everything. The three friends are left baffled, wondering why he isn't moving, until others notice them. Here the awakened sent. Tenoji points out that the leader is Shirasaki. As we turn around, our boy reveals his plan. Taiga, Noah, and Miona will take down the boss while the rest of us hold the demons at bay. Ryan's ally disagrees and insists that Ryan needs to reach rank B as an awakened warrior just to stand a chance against the boss. While he wavers, the two girls insist that doubting the pro's plan is just a waste of time. The ranker is left stunned by how much confidence a newcomer can have. With little else to distract him, he promises that this time he will obey. Yuya nods and says it's fine, knowing he'll take the blame if anything goes wrong. So the quartet moves forward, with Tenoji admitting that despite his annoyance, he is beginning to trust the boy. But later he realizes his mistake when the road he took suddenly hits a wall with no way forward. Dick had confirmed it was the shortest route, just as an iceberg erupted from the earth to reveal the frozen shell of a massive rank B crab. The brown-haired boy senses the enemy's powerful magic is too strong, so Shiosaki decides they need to grab a special item from that place before tackling the boss. He spins around and tells the two girls to take care of the monster by themselves. They rush Kakuto to the infirmary at the association's headquarters, where he finally wakes up from his blow, immediately recalling how he got there before screaming at the nurse to find Yuya. When he realizes what's going on, he decides the young guy isn't just making a mistake, but actually trying to steal his hard work. So he'll strike while you're weak to prove that underestimating him comes at a price. On the battlefield, Arisa checks with Shiosaki if he is sure, and he confirms that he will give all the instructions so they won't have any problems. Noah decides to trust the young man again and asks what he needs her to do. He explains that the beast's weapon is its sharp claw and its defense is its icy shell, so they must stay back to avoid the pinchers and use fire to melt through its armor more easily. Once Tenoji heard the whole explanation, he said it was time. Hoshiawa lunges forward with her sword, slashing at Arisa, who stays back to keep her safe. Our boy warns the guard to stay out of it, or the points they earn will get split, showing that his secret plan to beat the boss means making the two girls much stronger. Seeing the boy was nervous, he told him not to worry about anything. With her sword burning bright, the young blonde girl warns that she is ready to fight. Next, the red-haired girl nods in agreement, and the two get ready to strike together with their special powers. Flames burst out everywhere, wrapping around the crab until its armor begins to melt away. With the win, Noah jumps to level 42, while Arisa catches up at level 31. Tenoji, completely confused, can't figure out how Yuya knew this would happen. As a reward, Hoshiawa gets a wish bracelet that boosts her magic when she uses it, and then Proto steps up to say the preparations are done, so it's time to head to the boss room. On their journey, the four friends fight off more monsters and plan new tactics until they finally stand before the huge ice gate. Noah looks around the empty room and wonders where everyone has gone. But Shirasaki points out that the enemy is hiding right above us on the ceiling. When everyone looks up, they see the B-rank ghost Hydra Queen. Kanoji says that if everything goes as planned, they will win easily. He snatched up his sword, watched the enemy rush closer, and spun around to get ready. Then he and Taiga take the first step toward each other. When he hears his name, the ranker knows exactly what to do, identifies the target, casts his skill called Null Sakinton, and then throws his spear at the pink sphere. To his shock, nothing happened, and we learned that one of that creature's special traits is that its trunk can soak up hits from things crashing into it. Chisaki explains that even though the strike caused no harm, it successfully drew the enemy's attention, so moving forward is still the right choice. With one quick swing, he sliced through several of the Hydra's tentacles. The trouble is that it grows back fast. The cool part is that this process burns up mana. All it takes is a single look between Noah and Arisa before they both know it's time to strike. The swordswoman strikes first, using her skill to send flames flying at the enemy. But with a smile, the Proa shares that the result came out even better than anyone thought. Now all they have to do is pool their skills together to deal enough damage. When asked, Hosokawa admits the bracelet is only 78% durable. Now that we've found the pattern, Yuya says it's time to keep going. So the four of them take turns striking one another, thinking Taiga can't believe everything is going so smoothly because of the young man's clever plan. The swordswoman strikes with a flash of purple lightning that shatters the Hydra's crown, leaving just a single crystal behind. With that heavy hit, the wish bracelet finally snaps in two. The proa warns that its durability is gone, but when Noah asks, he learns he can still strike once more, while Arisa has only one move left. With item support no longer needed, Shiosaki shouts that they must deliver one final blow. The pair nod in agreement and step up to face their enemy. So after one final strike, the creature changes shape and becomes the fake water spirit empress. Tennoji is stunned and has no idea how that could happen.